Coach Sambo, good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to this session, the second part uh, of my message to the youth. Today, I would like to try and speak in English mostly, in trying to explain, trying to share my experiences and opinion of the current day relating to what we can do and what we should be doing. Dear children, of course, to everyone else, life is never paved with roses. We go up, we go down. There are times we have to cry. There are times we have to be annoyed at. There are also times when we really feel so low that we think everything around us is collapsing. And we sometimes think that there are people better than us. There are people with silver spoon. That those who have got their job, those who were able to live happily, are fortunate. Maybe it can be true, but it is not always true. I heard of these lines. Heights by great men reached and kept were not attained on a sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, were toiling upwards in the night. People who have attained their dreams, who have fulfilled their wishes, who got what they wished to get, did not actually got it easily. I think everybody dreams to be happy, but happiness comes with a price, sometimes a huge price. We need to sacrifice a lot. Now, if happiness is related to some material things, if happiness is related to people, if happiness is related to events, perhaps that happiness is going to be very short term for you. Nothing lasts forever. Happiness should come from within. We should be able to live the life. We should be able to rejoice who we are. I think each of you are a very special child. Whether you have parents or not, you are still special. You have received this life, this human body. We are very fortunate to be born in this country where everything is free and we have our very beloved King who cares us, who loves us, and who shows us the way. Our government does everything for us, even at the most difficult times. As you can see today, things are being reached at our doorstep. We are being guided and given opportunities to live better lives, even under lockdown. Perhaps this opportunity is not there in some other countries. I feel myself very fortunate. And as you live and stay at home, you should try and do something that is going to be very useful to you. Like, for example, as I said yesterday, why don't you read? You can read a book. There are hundreds of books around. At home, you may have a book. Without reading, I do not think you will find other options to become better. So you have to try and read lots of books. Let me tell my story. Uh, I don't remember when I was in class 3, 2, and down. I remember from class 4. When I was in class 4, I remember I had already started reading. I used to get a book to read. I used to go to library and read. My free hours will be spent reading. For instance, in the class, when the when the teacher doesn't come, or when there's a recess period for us, I never used to go to toilet if it is not required for me. I'll stay home and I'll stay in the on the chair and then start reading. And as I read, I used to take a note of difficult words which I don't know, and then look up the dictionary, then write the meaning of that word and make a sentence out of it day after day. I had completed 3 4 notebooks like that. And when I talk to people who are writers and who are readers today, I find similar characteristics. They also read a lot. They also jot down difficult words. They also write down meaning of the words, and they try to use those words when they speak, when they write letters, when they write essays, etc. You do not become a writer suddenly early in the morning. I started reading and I started writing as well. You know how I started reading? This book, The Dragon Delights, is my first book, first and only book, of course. I have in the pipeline 2 more books to be published. These are this contains poems, and I've written these poems since my childhood. Of course, the poems in this one are all selected, the the good ones. The poems I think is good enough to be put in the books. When I was in class 4, one day a teacher comes to my class and shows us the book and says, "This is a poem book written by a 15-year-old girl, and there are about 100 poems in the book." And she reads one poem titled "End of My Life." So I listened very carefully, engrossed, excited. And at the end of the day, when I reached home, I wanted to start writing. So I wrote my first poem of my life. And the topic of the poem was "End of My Life." So I just picked it from there. So this is how we do. And then after that, I never stopped writing poetry. So now poem is my blood, poem is my heart, poem is my soul. Everything I want to express, everything profound, everything subtle, anything that I need to reach to people or to myself to look into or to send a message, I put it in a poem. I find that I can express better by writing poetry than by speaking like this. But then to be able to write a poem like I'm writing now, I think it took so many years. So many years. I remember writing for the last 20, 25 years. And after that, with the help of some close friends, I get discouraged to publish the book. Maybe this book is not good enough for our very learned people, but then for me, this is a symbol of hard work, symbol of my sacrifices as a child, symbol that signify my reading life as a child. And reading not only made me to publish this book, but reading have changed me a lot. I was the eldest of 11 siblings, and many children of my age have left school before they completed their primary education, or some before completing secondary education. There were friends who resorted to smoking, to drinking, and some of their lives are not good enough today. But for me, reading, just reading was my drug. Reading was my alcohol. Reading was my smoking. For me, everything was reading. If I get time to read, that was my flow. I got a flow in that. So I would suggest that you should read a lot. And you should make a good choice to read a book. You can't pick up everything there on the shelves and try to move from one book to another book, move from one author to another. Try to gain some tempo in reading. Maybe you pick up Sidney Sheldon and then you read quite a number of Sidney Sheldon and see what it gives you. Then you go to John Grisham books and then see what it gives you. Or If you read Buddhist books, you have books by Chaturvang, the books by Ajikinzan Chetan. You know, if you read books by Ajikinzan Chetan, try and complete the books she had written. So that means you will learn a lot from one single writer. So now you grow step by step, not by jumping. Rolling moss don't gather more. Rolling stone don't gather moss. So I think we should try and do something like that. And at this hour, as you are staying home, I think you should write a small journal every day. Every evening, write 3 4 lines. How did your day go? You don't have to really tell about, okay, that today this morning the weather was like this, I did this one, I saw that one, and this just happened, I felt that way, and too many things. Just write something, just something about the weather today. Tomorrow something about what happened to you. Day after maybe what you saw, or then after that what you ate. Pick a subject to write. What happens is often when we try to write about everything that you saw on a day, it overwhelms you, then you die. You can't write. Your passion to write dies there. So I think you should pick up a topic. Write a poetry. If you're at home, write a small poem, just maybe 3 4 lines. You may post in the Facebook or the WeChat. You can share to your friends. Never be low on yourself. Okay, never never discourage yourself. Your self esteem is in your hands. I had friends a long time back. Many of my school friends, they used to hide what they write. They don't want to show to others. They said, "No, my writing is not good enough, and I don't write well. I'm feeling shy." So they would just hide it. And if you try to get it from them, they would pull it back and not allow us to see. Therefore, now I can see that they felt very low. They did not feel competent, good enough. Nobody is good enough in the beginning. Everybody is equal. Even today, you know, I have just published one single book. I write a lot on the social media, but I'm not good enough. Never. Every day I write, I find my own mistakes. Every day I write, I find new insights. Every day I write, I I find new ways of doing things, new ways of expressing. So learning is uh, never a closed door. It's always an open gate. You have to keep on walking. I'm just sharing this session for the youth, for those of you who wish to read. Those of you who are not reading, I think we should read a lot. His Majesty the King himself is a reader. His Majesty, once I heard that His Majesty reads a lot, and His Majesty always inspires us to read, and that's why National Reading Week, the reading culture is being instituted in the school, because that's one instrument that can help you to change. You'll find your own teacher in a book. Nobody is perfect. Everybody is a mistake. Everybody makes a mistake, but mistakes should be the platform for where you should grow. I think that's how we do. I'll tell you an interesting story. During my time, we used to write love letters to our, our girls, our girl who we like or admire. And my friends believed that I used to write better than them, so they used to ask me to write love letters for them. And then I used to write love letters, and sometimes it so happened that the letter I wrote to the girl for my friend was successful. So therefore, there were others who thought that I should write a letter for them, and then I ended up writing love letters. So I was literally writing love letters most of the time for my friends. Sometimes they were being rejected and being asked to write again. So I used to write for them. And for that, they used to sometimes give me maize, apple, chocolate, a little bit of things, village life. Uh, that's how I grew up. Then I had one auntie at Siliguri. She was getting trained on some, you know, textile training. She was away, and she used to write to me. So I used to write to her. Every time I write, that long paper. So I used to write 2 pages, 3 pages like that. And every time I tried to write a letter, I never wrote the same way. Like, dear Azem, how are you over there? I'm fine here. And tomorrow also, dear Azem, how are you over there? I'm fine here. And towards the end, last but not the least. So we write like that. But mine was never like that. I always wanted to do something new. Doing something new, was my habit. So, like, dear Azim, the sky just became dark and it is opening up. I'm hearing splinters of rain on the roof. Today I begin like that. Next time, dear Azim, my finger got burned this morning while I was uh, trying to make fire at the oven. The next time, dear Azim, life is beautiful here in the village, but I miss you a lot. Every time, new way of writing letters. When you try to do new things every day, your brain gets trained to do new things. It gets habituated to do in a new way. So when your brain begins to learn this habit, then in any other thing you do, you would always like to do in a new way. You would never like to be stale. You would never like to remain, stagnant in your ideas, in your thoughts, in the way you do your work. So I think these are simple things you can do. Many of you are using Facebook. So every day, maybe perhaps you are posting pictures or you're posting some write-ups. Your experiences for the day. Try and do it differently. Make sure that it's more meaningful, more helpful for you and for others. But make sure you try not to demean others, not to point fingers at others. You don't have to try put your frustrations there on somebody or some organization. Just write your natural feelings, things that won't hurt others or yourself. Try to find a space to pour your thoughts, not your arguments, of something else. So it's not good. So always make sure that it's always positive. If you think positive, happiness will come into you. Just a thought of being positive, just a thought of being kind, just a thought of not hurting others will generate some good feelings, good emotions in you. I think this is what we should do. Uh, Mr. Jitman Rai, thank you so much. You are always behind me, encouraging me. Thank you. Uh, Before I close this session, I just want to tell you, you know, I'm trying to learn to speak English, and I'm also trying to speak Dzongkha and try to share my ideas in some little ways here. I would like everybody, every one of you, especially the students, to take care of yourselves. Make every day a meaningful day. Do something meaningful every day, either reading or writing. Even if you're talking with your friends, do something meaningful because one day wasted will never come back. Out there in other Dzongkak, in other places, there are people who are spending their time much more productively than you are. Life is a competition. You know, if you do not use this time when you have to build yourself, to grow yourself, to make yourself more perfect, I think you will lose this competition. 5 years or 10 years down the line, you will remember, you look back and see that you haven't given enough time for yourself. You have always looked at things from a negative point of view, from a very low perspective. I think you should look at it in a very positive way. What what difficulty you face now is nothing, because what difficulty you face now is for just few, for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, but thereafter you have long years to live your life, to make a life. So therefore, what you become for the future is in your hands for now. So I would like to ask you to use this time judiciously, meaningfully, and with a purpose. Thank you, and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much. So, if I have done some mistakes in my words, in my content, please forgive me. Things will become better from tomorrow.